Welcome to the Impactful Engineer Project. I'm Steve Maxey, and with my co-host and brother Jake, we are here to bring you guidance, fresh ideas, and the tools to help you become an impactful engineer.
Today on The Impactful Engineer, I'm here with my brother Steve for an authentic conversation around engineering and personal development. Our goal is to create an environment for career excellence targeted towards engineering professionals. We believe that being open about what we've learned in our own careers will benefit others in their unique journey of engineering. Ultimately, we want people to have fulfilled careers and be inspired to become the best versions of themselves.
This podcast has a few episode types. Like today, our standard episode format has Jake and I presenting a topic, and we introduce the why and the how around the topic and give some tips to get the conversation going and inspire some action. Usually, this will be based on something you can deploy in your daily career. Often, this includes a mindset shift we invite you to consider moving forward, because we know and have experienced the power behind embracing mindset changes.
Our second episode type is a solo episode that is usually quick and down to the point. It's an idea that we want to share with the group. It's typically a mindset, strategy, tactic around making yourself and others around you increase their potential in their career. It's something we're really passionate about or close to, or would otherwise not make good content for full type episodes. Being solo episodes, these have a feeling more like a lecture with a little bit of fire mixed in, and the fire being maybe just a little more packed and some punches thrown in there. We call these episodes One Day Wisdom.
You also notice that about once a month, we will bring on a guest that has expertise in a particular field and share their perspective, mindset, strategies, and actionable tips based around their area of genius. The overall goal being to provide exposure to multiple thought processes and views in areas that will help you succeed. And if we don't do that, we usually end up having a great time anyway. So you'll find some nuggets in there, and we hope you enjoy those as well.
With our newsletter, it comes out weekly. You can find that by navigating to impactfulengineer.com and signing up through the questions at impactfulengineer.com. Email. Just right there on the landing page, it'll ask you to provide a question, but if you just put in your email and click sign up, you'll be ready to receive the newsletter weekly. All right, today I would like to quickly cover something that I think is very important as I've seen it in my career, that has the potential to help yourself manage others and work with others better, and also could bring you some ideas on how to manage it yourself if you are one of the engineers that has a natural tendency to be on the quieter side. Some call it introverted side. Some call it participatory. If they're going to label it with something, it could be someone that doesn't have a voice. It could be all those things, right? We all know that those are just labels and that it's not true. But when these labels are brought upon us, it's our job to know how to deal with those, how to become the engineer that sheds those labels, but also on the flip side, how to work with someone that has been labeled that or feels that way, right? Because there are quieter people, right? There are engineers that don't realize that other people keep to themselves for a variety of reasons, and personality type being a huge one. Past experience, the way they've grown up, how they've integrated in society, the friends they had growing up, the things they've experienced. I mean, it all, culminates into the personality set before you in your job place, right? And so I just wanted to cover some things that I've seen, and hopefully some tips and tricks and strategies and ways to go about working with and or being an engineer that's on the quieter side. Do you have anything to add to that? Any context, Steve? How would you explain this person?
Typically, engineers who are a little more on the quieter side can be more thoughtful, right? More analytical. I consider myself to be a tad on the quieter side more than others. I'm not incredibly introverted, but I'm a bit introverted. Those types of engineers, I think, can bring a ton to the table.
Yeah, so that thoughtful, quiet person that leads into, not only personality type, but how they think and how they solve problems and how they interpret the world around them. All these inputs we have flying at us all the time. Uh, that's how they take those inputs, interpret them, and then give an output is very thoughtful. Um, Maybe taking more time to work through the details before they provide a response. Not going to be that person that just jumps into a meeting and starts building on context and talking about how they feel about certain things. They might want to be more directed. I think I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and I think they can be off the cuff more trusted because they'll put more thought into their responses, right? And the data that they have on hand. Typically, if an engineer is a hothead and just fires off the cuff, it is more emotionally driven. You have to, you always want to take people's input into consideration because usually gut feelings are pretty accurate, but sometimes there's a bit of ambiguity in those fast responses, and a more introverted or quiet engineer will have a little more detailed clarity in their answers. And I think that is an indicator of a more thoughtful and calculated response.
Right. So, in my experience, I'll give you one personally because I've, over the last 10 to 15 years, have kind of transitioned from being the quiet person to being not like, sometimes I guess super loud, very opinionated type of person. So, the first thing that I will bring up being a quiet engineer is that for me, I needed some time to take in what was being said in the meeting or considered. Like, let's say we're in a meeting setting. We've gotten together for this 30-minute thing. Somebody's going to present or just bring the minds together to introduce a problem that needs to be solved. I would need to hear all the opinions of everyone in the room, take it in, walk away from the meeting, turn it over, do some research, really dig in and do some fact finding, and then compile a response that could either give direction to the group, contribute ideas, or otherwise keep going with how we're going to solve the problem. But it would be like a day later. I just needed time, even like a day or two later. And if you're in a position, which I was in, where the meeting was kind of the place to introduce the problem and solve it, it wasn't much of a help. So what I guess why I'm saying this is, one, I could have asked the group to give me some heads up before that meeting, giving me quick context and what the main problems were so that I could mull it over and then come to the meeting more prepared, because I wanted to very thoughtfully think this through. I didn't want to say something stupid. I didn't want to voice up just in case I was wrong. I needed time to mull that over in my head and be secure in what I'm going to say. So that would have been helpful if someone recognized that I was an engineer that was on the quieter side, that had that deliberate, thoughtful, critical thinking, calculated method of wanting to give feedback or contribute. They could have identified that and given me time to mull over the most important parts of what they were going to say. And then to their advantage, they would have brought an engineer in to that meeting and there would have been more input. Right. So that's one.
Yeah. And if you're setting up these meetings and you have someone in the team that is like that and that would benefit from information early on, it's best to set up the meeting invite with a lot of detail in it about what the topic is, right? A lot of team meetings that I've been a part of in the past they'll have a headline about like, production planning for this topic, and then that's it. Nothing else involved. They'll be like, oh, design review, nothing else involved in the body of the invite, right? And so thoughtful engineers are going in blind, and so they don't really get that opportunity to to do a little bit of investigation up front so they can have a more secure footing to stand on when they're either debating or adding their input.
Yeah. And really, this all comes down to knowing the personality types and the operational tendencies of everyone that you work with.
Yeah.
We're talking about, quote unquote, the quiet engineers right now. We tried to kind of define what we mean by that, just to kind of capture, the most of the quote unquote quiet engineers. But I think you guys get what we're saying. So set up this engineer that you know has a tendency to be quiet and thoughtful for success. And that's one way you can do it, is to give them a heads up, give them a more detailed design review agenda like you were talking about, Steve, or the meeting agenda. If you're going to grab a bunch of people for a meeting of the minds on a very fluid topic that hasn't been brought up before and that's vague, based on what you know about these people, you could ask them, hey, do you want to be a part of meetings like that? It's definitely a good question, because I'll tell you straight up, probably like, no, I have no interest in being part of a meeting like that. So don't invite me, get to that level, like communicate. Right.
Yeah. I think another aspect of that is to have a blended group, right? A strength that I've seen from more quiet engineers is that they will listen through most of the let's just say it's a brainstorm, right? A design brainstorm. So during this brainstorm, the more extroverted and like kind of on fire engineers are just like spitballing ideas, go back and forth, but usually they're not very thought out, right? They're way out there type ideas, and the thoughtful engineers will just listen, and then once they hear something that just clicks, then that's when they bring the fire, and they're like, yes, that will work because we can do this and this and this, and this will cause that to happen, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's where the value that they bring to those types of brainstorms is. They will listen up front and throughout the conversation, and then once that thought and formula is solidified in their head, that they just come swinging. And so they are incredibly valuable for those on the spot conversations, but they need a catalyst from a more active participant type engineer.
Hey, my fellow impactful engineers, if there's one thing that you could do to help out this community, is to keep listening to the podcast, but also, if you found value in it, to share it with one person, give us a 5-star review, or even leave a text review. It'll only take a few seconds of your time. Find that person that you think could enjoy some of this or learn from it, and pass on the good word. Now back to the show. That is also true. And 2 things real quick on that. One, as the mediator or as the meeting lead, take the time to pause every once in a while and ask the people that haven't said a thing what they think, because something that someone has said could have spurred something and they're still not bringing it up unless you've asked them.
Yes.
So do that. And then as the person that is not speaking up, you can always raise your hand. You can always make eye contact with whoever's talking and give them a visual signal that you're ready to kind of butt in. Find out your ways of getting in there just to say, hey, what you just said popped an idea into my head. I'd like to share it real quick. If it's good, we go down that direction. If it's not, then, we can move on. That's fine. I just wanted to share. It's one way you can do that. But from both sides. So as the person leading the meeting, you can stop and ask. And as the person with the idea, raise your hand, make someone know. Or if you're not comfortable with that either, write down some notes and come back, follow up an email. Hey, great meeting. I listened. I didn't contribute, but I've had time to think about it. And here's some points that I want to get over to you. Let me know if there's anything you want to go deeper on. And you send the email. The worst thing to do is to just be quiet and never have an opinion. That's another thing I want to really bring up, is that you need to contribute. You need to have an opinion. If you want to see the perception of your ability to contribute to the team like increase, but it also is going to get you comfortable with contributing. And so the more you do it, like pick some really low importance, like trivial stuff to start weighing in on. And then that's going to build your confidence. Like, hey, what format should this table be in? Like it, and how should it be represented? that's like really low hanging fruit that you could be like, oh yeah, and then give your opinion on it. And even if it's completely passed over, you've gotten the reps. You're practicing, right? Start with stuff that really doesn't matter if that way you can build up to the meeting where there's something really high stakes on the line, and you've been so used to contributing your ideas that you're able to jump in and weave in your thoughts into that meeting.
Yeah, I like what you said with the low hanging fruit and how you pose it as a question. Because I think questions are an easy way to interject, right? Because you're clarifying, so you can jump in and ask a question that maybe this is the point of the conversation that you're still trying to figure out a good solution, and so you ask just a probing question, and you might get the little spark idea that'll click in your brain that you can now give a great recommendation, right? So I think asking questions is an easy way to get involved with a conversation, like you're saying.
Yep. And if you're not comfortable doing it in front of the group, just do it outside of the group. Ask one person that you're pretty comfortable with that was in the meeting and say, hey, we talked about this. Like, what was meant by that? Could you give me, a little more of an explanation? And then slowly you'll start having the ability to contribute in real time during the meeting. But that's not, and that's not actually always super beneficial to contribute during a meeting. Sometimes you literally just have nothing to say about this meeting or care or have any kind of passion for it. And if you're stuck in a recurring meeting that's like that, ask to be not part of the meeting, you know? So that's perfectly fine as well. I've been in meetings where I'm just like, I should not be here. And this happens every 2 weeks or weekly. And I don't belong in this meeting. So I've just asked that I be removed. It's like, I'm not contributing anything. They're like, oh. And then they typically are like, oh, we just invited you because we thought we should. We didn't want to leave you out. It's like, I'm happy to be left out of that one. So that's okay too. So, all right. Meetings covered. Got it. Any other questions on meetings, just send them to us. We'll give you our thoughts. I would say jumping quickly to as a supervisor, from their perspective, one-on-ones are important. You should always be having one-on-ones with your direct reports, no matter what, right? But this is a great chance to follow up and ask questions about, hey, how are you doing in the meetings? I noticed this. Can you tell me more about it? It's a safe one-on-one place for you guys to dig deep and figure out what each other like, dislike, what you're interested in, gain rapport, build the relationship, which either helps you figure out how to be constructive in a meeting together, or otherwise that they don't want to be in the meetings, like ever. I mean, you talk about anything and everything and figure out how to work together better. Pull back the curtain, right? So you're not thinking, this person's quiet, never has an opinion. That means that they're kind of off my radar for developing them or something, some ridiculous thought that you have. That's where you get to talk about those things.
Yeah, another thing with one-on-ones is it's a great time to ask them how they like to receive feedback and praise. A lot of more quiet engineers don't want to be publicly praised or give that public feedback. They would rather it be during the one-on-ones, right? Because that's how they can process a lot more comfortably. So ask, right? Just ask them like, hey, when you do something awesome, do you want me to congratulate you in front of the whole team, or do you want to just I'll come by, shake your hand and say, hey, that was awesome. So because everyone receives that feedback differently or prefers to receive it differently.
Super important. I've asked and I've gotten many different responses. So
same.
Very good thing to know. I think even training is important to discuss. I'm not sure that I have a good example, but it's group training, individual training. Is it let them go, pay for something that they go then attend by themselves? Is it module work online? Is it in a group setting? Is it going somewhere? Is it doing it from home? Training will be big too. How do they like to receive training? Because believe it or not, each of us learns at a different rate within different settings. For me, a group setting's where it's at. I can ask all my stupid questions one after another, and in 15 minutes, I've shortcutted my learning and understanding of this thing because all the experts have told me all the responses to my stupid questions. And I was like, yes, got it. could I have like Google searched it and read some forums or got on some engineering consulting websites and read through everything and then interpreted it and then go, oh, and have that aha, like that's okay, cool. That's the answer 45 minutes later. I like to just shortcut it and just ask the question, no matter how dumb the question is. I don't know. Early in my career, I asked some stupid questions, like, hey, where's the foundation for this thing? And they're like, it's underground. I'm like, oh, cool. Like questions that are that dumb, right? Like, I don't know. I don't know any other examples, but, coming into the construction industry and not having any idea what construction even entails, I was just asking stupid questions. After, how do you mount this? What screw? Like all the stuff, right? And everybody's just like in awe that I don't know these answers, right? But I don't give a shit whether they think I'm dumb for not knowing or in awe or whatever. It's like, this is going to get me to this place and know all these things and then be able to be good and not make the stupid comment or mistake in the field with a contractor who doesn't know me at all. Like I'd rather be an ace out there than, asking the stupid questions out there. I'd rather ask the dumb questions at work.
Yeah, it's important
in a safe place. But
it's important to ask the dumb questions so you can get clarifications and so you can learn. The most important thing though is to learn and not ask that same dumb question more than like 3 times, because then there's going to be a pretty bad perception.
Yeah, you can go too far with it. I like to just get it out of the way and then learn, and I'm applying it to everything else.
Yeah.
But yeah, be careful of that. Okay, I don't know how we got sidetracked there, but I just want to share that. The last thing really that I want to share is remote work, because it's kind of a new thing. We're all figuring it out. We've kind of like, I'd say most of the world has figured it out pretty good. A lot of companies were doing remote work before anyway. But in the consulting world, I think in engineering and Steve, your industry and product engineering, manufacturing, stuff like that, definitely people were in the office or on site or on the shop floor like all the time. So it's newer, right, to us. There's a big part of the workforce that is now at home, and it includes the quiet engineers that benefited from being in the office to receive, personal training, have the conversations, just being in the office and absorbing. Now they're at home in front of their computer, and they do not have to call someone if they don't want to, right? So there can be long periods of time where you're just kind of by yourself. And I've seen it affect people pretty harshly if not treated correctly. Quiet engineers that are left to their own devices at home that don't have the support, that aren't checked in on regularly, and really talked to with the idea that quiet engineers have certain natural tendencies in their communication style. It's easy to run them over. You just give them direction that you think is going to solve what's been happening, but it's not, because you're just telling them the same thing over and they're not getting it. And you can feel really islanded and kind of isolated working from home. So it's important that if you are one of those quieter engineers and you're working from home, that you schedule purposeful time with your manager and with other people to discuss designs, to discuss the project, to catch up. It's perfectly acceptable to have a 15-minute one-on-one with anyone you choose, just to catch up and see how things are going, and receive support. Because if you're not talking to anyone, you can't ask any questions. And if you're not asking questions, you're not learning the responses to those questions. And you won't even know to ask them because you're by yourself. So
yeah, another good strategy is also to reach out to your team members to see if they have any questions on the projects that you're involved with. It's not just a time to reach out for your own questions, because there's often other people will have questions, but they are like, oh, he's probably really busy, or, oh, I'll just work on this other thing for now. But if you just reach out at, regular intervals to all of your team members and be like, hey, I'm working on, project X right now. Did you have any questions on project X? Because, I'm having trouble over here, but I also solved this other problem that was pretty tough. And, I'd like to share it with you and then see if you had any other questions on the project, et cetera, stuff like that. So it's important to keep up that regular engagement with your team, because just the conversations could spark questions or spark ideas. If you're just kind of isolated by yourself, it's a lot harder for those ambient ideas to foster.
Yeah, I can tell you how many times just a conversation has given some great direction or solved something that would have been a 10-hour task and it turned into a 2-hour because you got additional clarity by asking questions and contacting and following up. So for everyone, that's a great idea. The last thing I'll leave you with is that we're all humans, right? And we're all collectively together at this workplace, and we're all trying to get to know each other and figure each other out. And depending how long you've been together, you know how to work with each other, more or less in the way that you want to be worked together. But as you're building that rapport and those relationships with everyone on the team, with everyone being so busy and having their own problems, their own issues, their own designs that they have to get through, and they're all worrying about their communication with others and where they're going to go in their career, that 40-hour a week or the 8-hour a day gets away from you. And subtle, small movements, or I guess not movements, but small interactions, things that trigger events, all of a sudden, if it's good, bad, has a really high impact, low impact, that time frame gets extended out. So let's say you're late on something, didn't communicate it, or made a mistake. All of a sudden, the time to make that up or to change the perception or increase your value, it's stretched over a long period of time. So I guess the long and the short of this is the more you can do to communicate and stay on top of things and be integrated with the team on a week-to-week basis, the better your perception is going to be and the better you can pivot and make changes and learn quicker and have that perception that you can adapt, that you can learn, and that you are a team player and have an opinion. All of that can be stretched over that long time horizon because you could get someone's attention that matters, and that's going to provide input on your yearly review or whatever promotion you're going to be up for, or how you're doing even. There's tons of talks in the halls between all managers. Hey, have you seen how this guy's been doing? Oh, yeah, I did see how they were doing. It's really good. You have very few opportunities to influence what comes out of that person's mouth during that conversation. And those conversations hold weight. Believe it or not, like they hold weight. And the talks going on behind closed doors, you want them to be in your favor, of course. And one way to do that is to stay communicative, stay within sight of people, be in close communication. Just like I said on the first bullet, I guess really it's just communication, right? Stay in there, get noticed, have an opinion, and don't allow yourself to disappear for weeks at a time and you don't come up in any conversations, because that gets amplified in the whole career trajectory and moving up the ladder or whatever you want to call it. And then to shift that in the other direction then takes a bunch of time too. So you can kind of stack the time against yourself.
Yeah.
You want to wrap that up for me, Steve?
Yeah. I mean, to sum it up, it's the perception of your performance is your last interaction with someone. And so if you increase the frequency of those interactions, the opportunity for you to change that perception is much easier and more fresh in their mind. And so it's going to have a lot more impact. If you let it fester for a long time, the ability to pivot that perception becomes much more difficult. Yeah. So one thing I'd like to add before we sign off here is whether you're a more introverted or a more extroverted engineer, make sure you pair yourself up with the opposite, because there are strengths and weaknesses with both, and they complement each other quite well, right? So if you say you're an introverted engineer, you pair yourself up with an extroverted engineer. In group conversations, you're leaned on for the detailed information and being the backbone of the solid engineering advice. but the person that you're paired up with is the one who's going to be able to drive the project and the conversation and going to be able to get your voice heard. And so make sure you pair yourself up with your opposite when it comes to that communication style.
That's it. Do that, period, end of story. And you're going to be much better off.